It's Wednesday, June 10th, 2026. We are here for the Franklin County Board of Commissioners meeting. I will now call the meeting to order and ask that you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of current agenda. Is there any additions or corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe it's necessary to have the executive session. With that exception, I should say the executive session immediately following this adoption of our agenda. So with that, I would move for approval of the agenda with the removal of the first executive session as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Public comment. Is there anyone in the room today for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
There it is. Good morning, Marcy Torres. I wanted to come on here today and just thank you guys for, being protectors. And I know that anytime I come and bring any concerns to you guys, they're going to be looked into. I know that sometimes your hands are tied and you can't do very much, but you still are willing to listen. And I appreciate that. Yesterday, I was actually at the Benton County Commissioners meeting, and I know you guys aren't surprised that they continue to talk about you guys and say, you guys aren't trying to be cooperative. And, the one thing that I do see different from you guys and them is that you guys are not here to make friends or buy friendships either. You guys ask questions, and I do admire that. I never thought that, civic engagement would include me coming into a commissioners meeting in Benton County and addressing Will McKay and his behavior towards other people he's supposed to be serving. And I had to bring up the fact that his dad was also the mayor of Benton County and was doing investigations for, happy endings that he decided to take up on himself. And I did bring that up in the meeting, and I reminded Will McKay that as a public official, he is required to behave in a certain way. And I do understand that we're all human, but I asked him to resign from his position because there's no trust. And I did tell him that, during the whole investigation, he lied to the police. And he said that he didn't do what he did. And then throughout the investigation and after looking at the footage, he did take someone's phone, and then he tried to say that he didn't know that was a crime. I'm sorry, but my 15-year-old has known not to touch others and not to touch other people's belongings since he was like 2. So if you're a 40-year-old man and you don't understand to keep your hands to yourself and to be respectful to others, I don't think you belong in, just public service at all. So I do want to say thank you for, being present and also being willing to listen to us and to look into the concerns. I was court watching yesterday, and a lady came up to me and said, I kept seeing her lingering around where I was at, and I get that a lot. So finally she came up to me and said, hey, are you gutter girl? I need to tell you what Norma Rodriguez did. And long story short, Norma, another domestic violence survivor that Norma puts a protection order against and takes her kids away. She hasn't seen her daughter in 3 years. I really think that we need to take into consideration and do something about domestic violence. I'm hearing that Norma Rodriguez is very embedded in that nonprofit, and I'd like to see an investigation happen. Thank you.
Anyone else in the room for public comment? Please come forward.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michelle Andrews, 1421 Road 77, Pasco. I want to update you on the newest discovery on the attack on the constitutional enforcement law officer in each jurisdiction in our state and all states, with what's going on in Pierce County, where Sheriff Swank is the sheriff and the object of much attack. They are a home charter county. There are 7 of them. Spokane is one of them. That's on this side of the state. Most are on the other. Clark, Snohomish. I have a list for you in an email that you either received this morning or prior. But they are attempting to put on the ballot through a committee the appointment of sheriff in Pierce County. They called an executive session before they were sworn in. There's a number of problems with how they're operating, so we are working to, there has already been a cease and desist order, which they completely ignored. Now that you've written a letter, or counties that are part of the suit, I have sent you a video of a county commissioner in Lake County, Florida, the second to fully adopt a Bill of Rights sanctuary county resolution with ordinance. This enforces, as we tried many years ago to stop the shutdown of our state, anyone that tries that will have jail time and fees. And that includes the governor if they come to our jurisdiction. My biggest concern right now, because we're entertaining the World Cup games, that many people are coming from out of this country, and suddenly we're going to have an Ebola or a hantavirus or a monkeypox outbreak on our soil. So if you do not protect yourself and take this seriously and look at what they've done, that county commissioner is a lawyer. This is not just, it's very doable in Washington state. It's not a Florida state opportunity only, because they align themselves with the Bill of Rights. And they tell the state, you can't take that from us, which is what they did during COVID. But it gives you a lot more flexibility. And therefore, whether you like the sheriff or not, he's the one that enforces it. That's the office, and we have to protect it. Okay? And the future sheriff of this county is going to be the one that this probably falls on. So I urge you to review and have a workshop. Otherwise, I have to start notification and affidavits of truth, and that's no joke. Thank you.
Rebecca Olbrecht from Benton County. We share LD 8, 14, and 16 with you guys. And I know there's been contention in the state Senate race of LD 8 as to residency. And I noticed there was a voter challenge put up on the on your website. I believe it was Wick Weiss has put it up, and I was hoping that we can get that fast-tracked so that we can get an understanding and get that resolved. I understand that in that voter challenge, an individual was doing his due diligence and trying to verify that the residency of the candidate, Nikki Torres. And there's an investigation stuff going on, and one judge or attorney has already had to recuse herself because she's friends with Nikki Torres. So I'm just wondering if we should be moving those things outside of the venue where everybody knows Nikki Torres within the legal system. And I've also noticed that on her website that the Judge Sant has endorsed her, so I don't know if he is unbiased or not in any of these proceedings. Just a concern. I'm not sure. I don't know all the legal details, but just a concern. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I want to just say and follow up with what Marcy said. I really appreciate you guys. You are stepping up. You've actually asked questions. Last week, Steve Bauman talked about, asked the question about how does a judge be removed, and we found out they can't. I just got a phone call when you were passing me by outside. I just got a phone call. Today, Mitch Snow's case was scheduled at 1:30 p.m. And as you know, we have been doing the court watching thing, watching for people to make sure that men and women's rights are being followed. Well, they just scheduled it to 9:30, last minute. So now here I am. It's almost 9:30, and Mitch Snow sits in there alone right now. This is the kind of shenanigans that go on. Not to mention, they are piping in Judge True from Yakima, because not one judge is going to touch Mitch Snow's case, because every one of them has violated that man's rights. Holy tamales. I mean, when are we going to see justice with these crooked ass judges? They are so, I'm just kind of beside myself right now. How is it that a man who served our country, a Green Beret, by the way, who served our country, be sitting alone where he hasn't seen his son in 3 years? There were court watchers in there, the last one, so they pushed it out. I bet you that case would have went right through. They would have run him over that day if court watchers weren't in there. Now he's sitting in there alone. Here we are. This is insanity. These judges are insane. And you know what Judge True said on the record last month? She didn't even have access to Mitch Snow's case. So how is a judge overseeing a case that she doesn't have access to his records, not to mention she's sitting in Yakima County? How is this possible, legal, or even lawful? Not yelling at you guys. You guys really have been helping. I'm just frustrated right now because we're doing everything we can to protect children. Nate Snow has been molested for 14 years of his life, and he doesn't even know Mitch is alive. How is it possible in this country of America that this could even happen? It's because our children are being trafficked right in our courts. It starts in court. They are moving against people unlawfully. Yesterday, I was at the Benton County Commissioners meeting, and I served the commissioners with a petition for redress of grievances. And everybody is just completely, that we've lost trust in this system. So we need people who are fighting for the people. Thank you.
Can you state your name for the record?
Cataspinda, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room for public comment?
Andy Rivas, Franklin County. I want to touch base a little bit on the judge thing, and like Mr. Baumann talked about last week, and the recourse against a judge. We can go to the for the attorneys, it's the Bar Association. I tried that, and kind of like it was the same situation when I filed a complaint against the sheriff's office. Oh, we looked at ourselves and we didn't do anything wrong. It's really frustrating trying to go get these judges or the attorneys or anybody that you try to file a complaint against that you feel like your rights have been violated. But I was, last August, I was in Indiana, and there was a grandparent was talking about their grandchild who was 19, 20 years old, getting ready to go into law school. And they was laughing, and they thought it was funny. The two of the reasons he was going to law school, he wanted to be a judge. And the reason he wanted to be a judge is because he wanted people to call him honorable, and he wanted to never be wrong. That just, I about croaked. A judge can never be wrong. They're not God. They make mistakes. But there's no recourse when a judge is wrong. And like Kat was saying, I watched in family court over and over again where you have a different judge every 2 months that you're in there, and they cycle through 10, 20, 30 cases. How can they know the background of each one of those cases? And they make decisions that affect our children. And then when I started researching and figuring out the trafficking that is going on, and it's a government subsidized child trafficking ring and I think it's time to start hearing from the victims, from the children. I've got a couple comments here from from children. This person says, as an ex-foster kid, I can't fall asleep without a panic attack. And I didn't have them living with my mother. And this person says, I'm a foster alumni here too. I now work with foster youth as a lived experience specialist. It's crazy seeing the absolute trauma experienced by those going through what we did. I've got a client that was in foster care 50, 60 years ago, and he had to live in a barn because the foster parent only had him there for his free labor to take his cows out to the pasture every morning. And he slept in the barn. He couldn't even sleep in the house, but he was there for the money, so the foster dad could get the money.
Is there anyone else in the room for public comment? Is there anybody on the phone? Hearing none. Approval of consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of the consent agenda, items 1 through 10 as presented.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Regular business, open public hearing, Resolution 2026-205, Public Works Franchise Agreement with Fraser Drive Irrigation LLC, presented by Shirley Jones, Franklin County Public Works Project Program Manager. Good morning.
Good morning.
I will now open the public hearing.
Moving for an open public hearing for the approval of a water franchise agreement. This is for irrigation for Fraser Drive Irrigation LLC, and it is for the Underwood Estates Phase 1, Richard Underwood. Any questions? I can certainly answer for you.
Questions?
No questions here.
No questions.
Okay, no questions.
I don't know if there's any public comment.
Is
at all.
there anyone in the room for public comment? Hearing, seeing none. Close it. This open public hearing is now closed. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2026-205 as presented, the franchise agreement with Fraser Drive Irrigation LLC.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This week, met with the commissioners individually to discuss the agenda and ongoing goals. Met with various elected officials and department heads throughout the county. We had our staff meeting and discussed various issues there. Council Briggs could maybe even delve into this too a little bit, but we have to make a decision on our risk pool by the end of this month. Whether you would like to stay in the current risk pool we're members of, or if we'd like to shop around, but we do have to make a decision by the end of this month. Something that I think is important in that, and again, I don't want to, if Council Briggs did want to speak to this, and I know it's in my update, but is making sure that when we do look at that, that we're at least going to be services, apples to apples, basically. That our services don't drop, and that the service that they provide for not only Council Briggs, but for us mitigating factors would be something that I think that would be worthwhile to keep in mind. But we do have to act on that by the end of this month. So I'll need a little direction from the board as if you want to continue on with where we're at, or if you'd like to shop around and have presentations made, just let me know and we can schedule that and accommodate that. That'll be really the majority of my update for right now. A lot of what I've got to talk about comes in correspondence, sir.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Briggs, did you have a comment?
Sure. If I had a vote, which clearly I don't, it would be in favor of staying with the risk pool. There's a number of reasons for it. We're sort of clear at the end of the time when we can retract our notice of intent to withdraw, which has to be retracted by the end of the month. I don't know that gives us sufficient time to shop around because the underwriters would need to do a survey. I just completed the one, by the way, to the risk pool in the event that we stay with them, so that's ready to go. But that's only really part of it. The other part is the risk pool's coverage of the SAM claims. I believe that's one of the primary reasons why our rates skyrocketed this past budget cycle, is because the risk pool hadn't covered that before. And so, and because the risk pool is a nonprofit that's run by the counties collectively, I think the county saw a mutual interest in having coverage for that, so we can spread the risk of those SAM claims across all jurisdictions within the pool. And then the other part that I think I plugged when Chuck Boyd was down here giving his presentation is just the claims management part of it. The risk pool is really great. They have adjusters who assist me. I mean, I'm the claims administrator for the county, but I have a lot on my plate. So it's good to have them work with me on claims administration and sort of utilize their expertise, because we might have a claim that we've never seen before or is kind of unique. But the risk pool, because they represent so many counties within the state, they've seen a lot more of these, and their membership, their the personnel that they hire are always going to conferences to sort of talk, and these are national conferences, by the way, so they'll talk about issues that are coming up in other states that we might want to be prepared for. So it's just a great organization, I think, overall to work with. But I know I don't have to look at the number side of things, and I know that's what the board's concern is. So.
Yes.
We do have time to shop around. So we've been working on this for about a year. I think we had to give notice at the end of last year. So Wes Crago and their group out of Ephrata would be able to give us a quote.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Briggs, for the good of the community that's listening in, could you give us the rate increase that we're going to be paying this next apparatus time if we go with risk pool?
I could not. That's what the underwriting survey is for. So they take that and then they look at our claims experience, which is the number of claims we had from this year to the last.
There was a percentage given, though, wasn't there? Wasn't there an amount?
There was that was for this year.
We're paying 600 and some odd thousand more.
Right.
Right.
We were paying about 600 and some odd $1,000 more this year than we were the previous year.
Was that 40%, or am I just thinking of a wrong number?
42%.
42%. Yeah. So I knew it was around there.
And the projected increase for this year?
I don't, and again, the reason, I mean, part of it is we had some wrongful death claims that settled that year, but I think the other reason, again, is that we expanded our coverage for these new claims that are coming out of the Juvenile Justice Center.
Benton County's Juvenile Justice Center.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Just for clarity, when you talk about the SAMS cases, can you go into more detail of that?
Right. So these are claims that are from the 80s, primarily. Some are from the early 90s. And what the legislature did a few years back was they broadly expanded sort of the scope of, the statute of limitations. Because ordinarily you're injured, right? The statute of limitations runs after a few years if you don't make your claim. What they essentially did was they said, well, no, it doesn't run for these claims until you realize that this party may have been responsible for your injury. And so there's plaintiffs' firms now that are actively shopping for plaintiffs, and they'll say, hey, did you ever stay in the jail in the 80s? You may get millions of dollars. Call us. And then they'll say, hey, did you know that you could sue the counties for this? And they'll say, gosh, I didn't realize that what the counties had done was wrong, and I was molested in the jail, essentially. So then they'll say, well, I just discovered that was actually something that I could sue for, and that the counties may be responsible. And then so they'll file these lawsuits, and then in the course of investigating, I mean, these people from the 80s are either, retired and long gone. I mean, some of them are dead, the workers that the allegations are against. So it makes it very difficult to defend those. And it's something we've seen here in our state that sort of percolated up from California. It was a really big thing in California. And the plaintiff's bar has a very powerful lobby So they're the ones who sort of changed the rules on the statute of limitations and have caused this sort of broad and expanded scope of liability. And now we're sort of feeling I mean, you look at Pierce County, if you read about them in the news, I believe collectively they have over 100 claims that would cost $250 million, essentially bankrupting the county. So it's a big problem statewide.
So just for clarity also, these SAMS claims, we had no say on who was hired at the Juvenile Justice Center. We didn't hire him. We were an actively participant as a co-county part of this.
Right.
But we had no hiring authority. We didn't give any input for the hiring of these employees.
Right.
Nor were we consulted on any of these claims.
Well, yeah, I might push back on that last. I mean,
Okay.
Once the claims came in, we
were notified.
We've been right.
Yeah.
We've been notified, but you're right. Our relationship with Benton County historically has been we pay them for services. Right.
It's be indemnified, should we not?
That's not what our agreement says. I mean, I wish it did. I wish I could travel back in time to the 80s and make the agreement make sense to me. But it's sort of it's weird the way it's phrased. I'll just leave it at that. And I don't really want to say too much because of the current litigation.
Okay.
But I mean, if you look at their budget, we've been paying them for intergovernmental services. And you're right. The board historically, Franklin County has not had a role in saying who's hired, fired, or even reprimanded for that point, or for that.
Thank you.
For that matter.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Relatively light last week. Had a really nice conversation with Rural Development Director from the USDA here in Washington State, Kirk Pearson, who everybody here should be very familiar with, and did a little bit of an after action conversation after the Rural Prosperity Summit that we hosted here at the Hapo Center. And they're really, really happy about the results of that, and think that there's a very real chance of having that again. And Kirk would like to come, and I believe he's already coordinating with you, and is going to come and talk to us about that, some of the things that have taken place, and the value that summit provided. And so was very thankful for that conversation and look forward to him coming. I think about sometime in the next month, I believe he's going to come and visit with us, so very thankful for that. Ben Franklin Transit Executive Board meeting. Had a discussion with a developer and Mr. McCart, our Community Economic Development Director, or I'm sorry, it's a mouthful. Our Building, Planning, and Economic Development Director, Mr. McCart, and just appreciated learning about that, and had an idea that wanted to share with you, Commissioners, see what you think of this idea. It seems like almost every week that there's information that comes out that needs to be corrected, and just correcting it very simply, directly on the record, I think, is something that we should evaluate. And so here's the thought process that I've got, is that we would potentially put something in our agenda where that something, maybe label it telling the story or correcting the record. An example of that is whenever somebody goes out and publicly states that Franklin County has 27 or 27 and a half or $50 million in an account that has less than 10, is that needs to be corrected. And I wonder if we should add something. My thought is that it could be any of the three commissioners, and our administrator could, if they felt like that they wanted to add anything to that part. Anyway, something for consideration. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Didier.
Yeah, just the agenda meeting with Mr. Danzel. I want to reiterate the importance of pullouts on Glade and Taylor Flats, watching some dammer dikers, which are used in row crop, that are wider than a single lane, and they are over the yellow line. We need pullouts. We need to start putting pullouts on these roads. For the safety of our community, this needs to be done. I can't insist on it enough. And then second, yesterday I got an email about a complaint out here for blowing dust on one of the developments, but I actually got 3 videos from a farmer on Foster Wells where Pasco has leveled up that land, and there was no visibility, and a bus came through this area with school kids on it, and it was horrible. I think that there's no, I drove out there and looked at it this morning, there's no power hooked up, there's no water hooked up, and they've leveled this land. They threw down some manure that didn't hold the ground, and it blew bad yesterday. And there's going to be a wreck on Foster Wells. We've got to do something there to tide that. They got a big gun out there, but one big gun on 100 acres ain't going to do nothing. So that needs to be addressed. As far as removing judges, we need to really look at what was taking out in the Biden administration. Title 42, subsection 1984, where judges are not being held accountable for their actions. This has to be put back in. And who can do it? The Trump administration. They need to put this back into place so the judges are held accountable, and they can be fined and imprisoned if they're not doing the constitutional law of this country. That has to be put back into place. There's our accountability for judges. Title 42, subsection 1984. For some of you people in the audience that are really eager about us commissioners doing something, please look into that, and let's get a hold of the people that we can in the Trump administration and get that put back into place. And the last, Mr. Baumann brought that up, I think that our commissioner administrator updates were on the record, and we're bringing this all forward. Any untruths out there that are spoken, we have the ability with our commissioner administrator updates. So I think we have the platform to do just that. That's the end of my report.
All right. I'll just comment too on Foster Wells. I went through there late last night, and it totally caught me off guard. Immediately couldn't see anywhere on the road from the blowing dust. So yeah, it needs to be addressed before there's an accident.
I had a farmer call me and say that he had to look at the power lines beside the road, looking up through the dust because he couldn't see the road beyond the hood of his truck. So yeah, that's certainly an issue.
All right. So this last week had, of course, the agenda meeting with Mr. Danzel. Also had Greater Columbia Behavioral Health, Eastern Washington's Aging and Long-Term Care, and a meeting with the team out at HAPO, and also another meeting afterwards with HWL on the current condition of the HAPO Center. And I do want to take a few minutes to address some of the items that have come out on basically social media. It's just plastered everywhere. So I'd like to take a few moments to directly address the public, present the hard facts, and correct the record regarding the board's decision to transition the management of the Franklin County Jail. Recently, a constant, deeply misleading, one-sided narrative has been perpetrated in the community. I am here today to replace that political theater with the cold, hard reality of why this board had to act. First and foremost, the public must understand exactly why we felt we had no choice but to step in and assume control of jail operations. The decision was not sudden, and it was not political. It was the direct result of a multi-year breakdown in administrative oversight, financial responsibility, and basic operational protocols under the prior management. Financial lapses. It was discovered that external vendors had completely stopped paying what they legally owed the county. That one alone was over $900,000 in lost payment, which the county did recover. Obviously, that's a very good contract they have with the jail. But to realize that that payment wasn't being paid, that type of activity would never stand up in the public arena, and I don't think it should in county government either. The county also received audit findings from the Washington State Auditor's Office. Under previous management, these findings were not taken into account when operating the jail. This is obviously an unacceptable liability to the taxpayers of Franklin County. By doubling down on actions that directly led to audit findings, we know that that this would lead to more findings, more liability, and eventually financial sanctions. The reality of the prior 8 years. To fully understand why we took action, the public needs to know the liabilities that piled up during the 8 years prior to the County Department of Corrections being established. The county was hit with multiple high-profile lawsuits, operational incidents, and massive legal exposure to the county. The legal and financial fallout from these recurring incidents threatened to cripple county resources. As commissioners, we could no longer stand by and allow this pattern of liability to continue on the taxpayer's dime. A strictly financial and liability decision. I want it to be very clear to every resident listening. Removing the jail from the sheriff's oversight was strictly a financial, legal, and risk management decision made for the sole benefit of protection of the Franklin County residents. The board has always supported and will always support our frontline law enforcement officers. What we do not support and what we will never tolerate is the mismanagement of public funds, the ignoring of legal liabilities, and the failure to protect human life in county custody. Second, I want to contrast that doubled past with the current state of our facility under our new Franklin County Department of Corrections, cutting through the misinformation regarding our legal authority. Fully accredited today. Despite the false narrative that this new department lacks proper credentials, I am proud to report that Franklin County Jail and its staff are fully accredited. The facility meets rigorous, independent standards, providing to the state and our community that we have the proper legal authority, training, and credentials to operate safely, humanely, and independently. And I'll just add, too, that this audit passed with 100%. Exceptional leadership and smooth operations. Under its new structure, the jail is operating smoothly, securely, and efficiently. Our current corrections leadership brings decades of dedicated, proven jail management experience to the table. They are professionals who specialize exclusively in corrections, ensuring the facility is held to the highest standards of daily accountability. Finally, I want the community to see that this transition is a major win-win for the public safety. This would allow the sheriff to refocus on the community. Operating a modern jail is a massive administrative burden, fraught with immense legal liability. By relieving the sheriff of the jail's oversight, we have freed up his department's time, energy, and personnel. This allows the sheriff's office to focus 100% of its resources on its core, vital mission, and being out on the streets, patrolling our neighborhoods, and protecting our citizens' homes and businesses of Franklin County. The board's fundamental duty is to protect the taxpayers, guard county resources from liability, and ensure the lawful, orderly operation of every county department. This decision did exactly that. With our current jail leadership and correction staff for their, we thank our current jail leadership and correction staff for their incredible work during this transition, and we thank the public for their continued trust. And I will just say that the jail and their staff are doing an excellent job. So with that, I'll move on to correspondence. Mr. Danzel, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a few items to cover, both incoming and outgoing. The first is a letter from our IS Director, Bo Beckley. I'll just take one and pass one down. The second piece of correspondence that I have for you gentlemen to consider, and it's going to come in a packet like this, so when I hand it, you'll just take a whole packet here, but it's an email and then a request from Mike McCall at HWL. If you would take one and pass one down. We have got, and I've stapled these together so that you can reference the letter, but a response to the city of Pasco. And in front of it, we've got the original letter from the city of Pasco. So I'll take one and I'll pass that down as well. And then finally, early this morning, prior to the meeting, I apologize for that. I got this from the county assessor, Mr. Rosenau, and he wanted me to have you gentlemen look at this as well. So I'll take one and I'll pass that along. As it pertains to the letter that we are from the city of Pasco, all I would need is if you gentlemen are fine with it, the way that it's written. We've got some clean copies here that you can sign. If you'd like some changes made, let me know. But that's the correspondence that we have for this week.
Thank you. Yes, I have the letter to the mayor, Charles Grimm, Pasco, and I'm in agreement. So I'm going to sign it, pass it along.
Gentlemen, if you're in agreement, there is a clean copy to be signed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baumann, update. I'm sorry. So.
I do have a little bit of an update. If you're
Sure.
Thank you. I kind of forgot about this part. We were notified that we had an issue with some road washout earlier in the week, and had the opportunity. It's not too far from my folks' house, so ran out there and looked at that and visited with my folks a little bit. And just want to say thank you to the Public Works Department for addressing that rapidly and getting that fixed. There was just water in a ditch and found a gopher hole that made its way underneath the roadway and caused a washout, and they got it repaired rapidly and back open. So just want to say thank you to our Public Works Department for their rapid response to that and getting it fixed.
All right, thank you. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone in the room today for public comment? If so, please come forward, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
Marcy Torres from Franklin County. I wanted to say thank you for clearing up the record. I have been receiving calls and messages from people in the community saying, you know, the commissioners in Franklin County don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, and I go to war for you guys, and I want you guys to know that I do. I defend you guys, and I know, and I can feel any time that we come in here that you guys are working for the people, unlike a lot of other, you know, people in our politics that are not doing what's best for the people. They're doing what's best for their friends and for those that benefit off of taxpayer money, and I'm not okay with that. So I wanted to say thank you for clearing the record. I have been receiving a lot of concerns from our community members as far as when they're reporting crimes to our police department, crimes are not being investigated. A lot of them are crimes like in the schools, things that are happening in our school districts, and they're not being investigated. The schools are trying to do their own investigations, and well, if we look at what's going on in Lakeview, as mandated reporters, they're supposed to report those crimes. So now that the kids are on summer break, I am hoping that some of those kids, you know, will come in and maybe do a public comment. I think it's never too early. If it would be okay with you guys for me to invite them to come in and share their concerns. I think it's important to hear from them since they're in school and they see what's going on. And I think it would be important for our community to know that they're not alone in the issues that they're facing. So I'd like to encourage, I'm not against our police departments. I don't know if if they're claiming there's lack of funding or lack of training or what it is, but you know, I'm seeing crimes that need to be investigated, not investigated, and then crimes that are not even crimes being investigated or completely reconstructed. Like, why does a police officer have the right to put on their report that someone has any kind of mental illness if they're not a doctor? It kind of sounds like they're reframing parents to take the kids away. The same thing that the judges do here, the same thing that the attorneys are doing. According to the attorney that's representing my ex, I'm bipolar and I'm this and that. And I actually called him out on the record a few months ago in front of Megan Whitmire. And I said, I find it interesting that you would call me all these things and would ask me to take tests that would cost me $15,000 when you're the one that's on bipolar medication, Mr. Pickett. So I'm just here to look out for my community and to let them know what's going on and what's affecting the people in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Del Andrews back. There are steering committees that you sit on, and you can consult with legal and start pushing laws that protect families. Part of my concern is that some of the laws already passed by a very socialistic government that doesn't even protect babies and sends them back to crack houses is making laws that force these judges' hand a little bit. And you can do that. You can speak on steering committees and get things done through WASAC and represent your citizens. So I charge you to do it. Also, I am part of Legislative District 8. And I concur that if we have an issue of residency for somebody who's running for office, regardless of the outcome, the citizens do deserve, and I would say, I don't like to use the word demand, but we do need clarity on that race. So if the auditor is listening and any of the powers that be, if we have somebody that has a residency issue, when I ran for school board, the person that ran against me actually lived in Richland. He claimed his girlfriend's resident here. Well, he got beat out at the primary, thank God, but he is on the school board now. So anyway, I would also like to cite the home rule charter counties and their liberal percentage. 59% liberal, Snohomish County. San Juan, 55.1% liberal. Whatcom, 61% liberal. Spokane, 51% conservative, very narrow margin. Pierce County, 54% liberal, and King County, 75% liberal. So there was correspondence, Mr. Danzel, from me. That was not acknowledged today, and it's pretty frustrating, but I hope you acknowledge it in the next meeting. Maybe it's a time issue regarding this protective resolution for our county. It has a video attached. Mr. Didier received it, and I truly do like working with all of you, but our county is very exposed with this sheriff thing that's going on, even if you write a letter. And there was a big push not to have our Bill of Rights taken from us and to open up this county, and now you have a tool to do it. You have a county commissioner that did it in Lake County, Florida, and Collier County, Florida, and there are 6 more waiting in the wings. And this is not a Florida state issue. I want to protect our citizens, as do you. And so I am pushing maybe a little bit more than usual, but this needs to be done. We need to be protected from the state. Our state is not, it's almost seceded from the union. It's so unconstitutional. And redress of grievances is the people's lever. Is the people's lever at the county level to redress grievances. You cannot abridge those rights, and we have not been taught this, and it's not a surprise to me that we don't seem to know this, but in over 250 years, it has pretty much not been done because we've had a lot of agencies with 3 letters. They don't help.
Anyone else in the room for public comment?
County Commissioners, John Rosenau, County Assessor for Franklin County. I had a letter gave to Mr. Danzel to give each one of you a copy of. I'd like to read that into the record. And my main reason for doing it is exactly like you, Chairman. You brought up the fact that social media and everybody's saying things, and how do we address it? Commissioner Baumann brought that up. How do we address false statements, derogatory statements, even lies. How do we do that? You gentlemen have a platform, you can do it. As other electeds, we got a 3-minute one that we can come up and address. So, commissioners, so I'm writing regarding statements made during public comment portions of commissioners' meetings on May 20th and June 3rd. Several statements were presented as factual assertions that I believe are false and misleading. And because these statements concern both my professional conduct and the operations of the assessor's office as a whole, I respectfully request that this correspondence be included in the public record. The statements in question have the potential to misinform the citizens of Franklin County and create a false impression regarding the duties, the actions, and the performance of the assessor's office, and I would like to address several of these claims directly. First, it was stated that I have said that as the assessor, I am required to obey Governor Ferguson. That's a joke. This statement is false. In carrying out the duties of the county assessor's office, I follow the Washington State Constitution and the laws of the state of Washington, not a man. Second, it was alleged that I was proud for overassessing property values. This statement is also false. The assessor's office follows state law when valuing property and is subject to annual audits by the Washington State Department of Revenue. And during my tenure of over 5 years here as the county assessor, those audits have consistently been found that the county's assessed values are within the required standards established by the Department of Revenue. And in fact, we have not exceeded the 95% mark. So we haven't even hit 100% of what the Department of Revenue says our properties are worth. The highest we've been is 95%. Third, it was stated that I received an award from the Governor Ferguson for collecting large amounts of tax revenue from Franklin County residents. This statement is false. I have never received an award from the governor, much less an award related to assessments or tax collections. Furthermore, the assessor's office does not set taxes to be collected, nor do we collect the taxes. That's a false misnomer that's spread. Those responsibilities belong to other governmental entities, elected officials, and voters as provided by law. Fourth, it was alleged that the assessor's office is confiscating property and facilitating the transfer of farms to tribal entities. These claims are entirely false. The assessor's office has no authority to confiscate property, nor does it encourage in any activity of nature of that description. And I'd like to finish 3 paragraphs, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
I'll allow it.
Finally, it was stated that I have appealed hundreds of cases to the State Board of Tax Appeals and that I have received recognition from the governor for doing so. These statements are false. During my more than 5 years as your county assessor, fewer than 50 cases have been appealed to the State Board of Tax Appeals. Less than half of those were appealed or initiated by the assessor's office. The majority were filed directly by property owners and businesses exercising their statutory rights to do so. During my tenure, appeals involved the assessor's office have been resolved all in favor of the assessor's office, not one against us on the State Board of Appeals. And I wanted to make clear to the public, to the county officials, and to the Board of County Commissioners that the assessor's office is committed to carrying out its duties in accordance to Washington law without bias or favoritism. We welcome public questions. We want constructive criticism and open discussions. However, public discourse is best served when it is based on accurate information and verifiable facts. Thank you for your consideration and for including this correspondence in official record. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mullen, for your clarification on the jail. I've made comments about the jail, and I got the opportunity to talk to Mr. Harmon himself a couple weeks ago. I've been in Franklin County Jail, and I've talked to inmates, And I actually, just last week, I overheard a conversation where it was stated that and I can confirm that by talking to inmates, that Franklin County Jail used to be rated as number 2, as the number 2 worst jail in the state. And I can confirm that. But Mr. Harmon stated here on public record, and it stuck with me, and I really appreciate it. Warehousing people is easy. Treating them with respect and dignity and helping them succeed is a whole nother issue. And that's what his focus is now. And I just appreciate what you guys have bringing that out, because social media is insane and it can be used for good, but the stuff that goes around on social media is horrible. And people take it as the gospel truth and when they don't look into it. So I appreciate your update on that and clarifying the record. It helps the public to understand what's going on. Back to the family court thing. When we adopted our daughter, I talked to the foster mom, and she stated that she was in the state of Texas. She said that there was no way they could adopt this girl because the state would not pay them enough to cover the expenses. There's many aspects of that that trouble me. The fact that the federal trickles down to the state and they will pay to take kids from families and give them to somebody else and pay them to take care of them, but they won't help a struggling mother that can't put food on their table. I've read countless stories of people, of mothers that are living in shelters because of the fear for their lives from domestic violence, etc. And their children are taken from them because she can't support her children. Why do we not take the money that we're spending on taking the kids and giving them to foster parents and paying the foster parents to take care of them? Why can't we help that mother? We need to reevaluate where our money is going.
Anyone else for public comment? Seeing none. Is there a need for executive session today?
Yes, under RCW 4230, 110-1I litigation, we would need the board, Mr. Danzel, Administrator Danzel, and the clerk of the board, Ms. Herrera.
Mackenzie.
Yes, we would want Mackenzie Lloyd there as well from my office, and our HR director, Ms. Isom. Oh, she off?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess not her. How long? 20 minutes.
So the time is 9:58. We'll go into executive session for 20 minutes under the RCW code stated. Thank you. I called him and said, hey, I want to do like a state of the county address.
Yes, that's excellent. What I ought to do is get you the owner wants us on.
Oh, we're live?
You
Okay.
go on there and read that.
We are live and on the camera, gentlemen.
We've come out of executive session. We're going to go back into executive session for 15 minutes under the same RCW code. The time is 10:19.
We got, what do you say, a closed session now?
Wish I could go play.
How long?
Try to do 15 minutes. It's just running some numbers back.
I thought we were, that was combined.
No,
That's what I was. Can we do that another time?
no, because I need this.
I've made it clear that that I'm not gonna have a closed session sprung on me, so I'm out. So, told you that, well, told it over and over, and the only way apparently that it works is for me to, I can say that on the record if that's helpful. Helpful? Would you like
Do you
that
have to do
happen?
it this week?
I
I'm just
have
trying to get it all.
mediation tomorrow.
So we've come out of executive session with no decisions being made. Is there any other business for the good of the county?
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I'd like to see that anytime that there's a known need for closed session, that it would be noted on our agenda, and that would be helpful, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Hearing no other